Let's start with a quiz, shall we? I'm going to make 10 statements. These are things that we expect government to do, and I want you to say agree or disagree. Of course, I can't hear you, but you may want to write this down and come back and check your answer. We'll come back and discuss these in just a minute. All right? So here's a little quiz. It's 10 statements answering the question government should. Here they are. It's pretty simple. Government should fight and defeat invading armies. Number 2, government should capture and punish criminals. 3, government should act as the policeman of the world. 4, government should preemptively invade other nations. Number 5, government should provide Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, health care subsidies, and other welfare benefits. Number 6, government should set minimum wages. 7, government should fund public education. Number 8, government should build and regulate highways and post offices. Number 9, government should provide student grants and loans for higher education. And number 10, government should establish and regulate a monetary system. Okay, now let me ask you a question. Does it seem to you that our government is broken and beyond repair? Well, me too. Now let's put aside for a moment all the political bickering of today. Let's put aside the corruption that's rampant among our so-called leaders. How did we arrive at a place where we have a $19 trillion deficit and counting, unending conflict around the world, same-sex marriage forced on every state, legalized killing of the unborn, and the fact that the best 2 candidates for president that the 2 major parties could put forward in 2016 were Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton? How did we get here? We're in a mess. How did we get here? Here's my answer. And you may think it's simplistic. Even though the United States has had a Christian consensus since its very beginning, we have been at best ignorant and at worst willfully disobedient to the biblical role of government. Yes, there is a biblical role of government. The Bible is unambiguous about what government is supposed to do. God's Word actually limits governing authorities to just a couple of very specific activities. And we have 2 places in the Bible that tell us this. So we have 2 witnesses from the Bible that spell it out. We find these in Romans chapter 13, verses 1 through 7, and 1 Peter chapter 2, verses 13 through 17. Now I'm going to read these passages, and they're going to be on the screen, and I want you to see if you can figure out the 2 roles of government. I've given you a little bit of help, just in case. So here we go, Romans 13, 1 through 7. Let every person be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. Therefore, whoever resists authorities resists what God has appointed, and those who resist will incur judgment. For rulers are not a terror to good conduct, but to bad. Would you have no fear of the one who's in authority? Then do what is good, and you will receive his approval. For he is God's servant for your good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain. He is the servant of God, an avenger, who carries out God's wrath on the wrongdoer. Therefore, one must be in subjection, not only to avoid God's wrath, but also for the sake of conscience. For because of this you also pay taxes, for the authorities are ministers of God, attending to this very thing. Pay to all what is owed them, taxes to whom taxes are owed, revenue to whom revenue is owed, respect to whom respect is owed, honor to whom honor is owed. Now let's look at 1 Peter chapter 2, verses 13 through 17. This will say essentially the same thing, it's just in a condensed form. Be subject for the Lord's sake to every human institution, whether it be to the emperor as supreme, or to governors as sent by him, to punish those who do evil, and to praise those who do good. For this is the will of God, that by doing good you should put to silence the ignorance of foolish people. Live as people who are free, not using your freedom as a cover-up for evil, but living as servants of God. Honor everyone. Love the brotherhood. Fear God. Honor the emperor. Now, both of these passages are in the context of Christian living. Both Paul and Peter are describing for us how the Christians are supposed to submit to governing authorities. But we also get an explanation as to why we should do this. And in the process, both authors tell us what government is supposed to do. And did you catch the two activities? In case you didn't, I've highlighted them here in 1 Peter. They're really straightforward. This is all government is authorized to do. Number 1, punish evildoers. And 2, praise those who do good. Let me add that we also get an understanding of what tax revenue should be used for. Let me bounce back. What should tax revenue be used for? Well, its sole purpose is to pay the salary or the salaries of those who punish evildoers and praise those who do good. That's really it. Now, let me go back through that list of things that we expect our government to do, those 10 questions that I asked you, government should. And as I go through them, ask yourself if it's part of government's biblical role. Not only do I want you to ask if the activity is a part of God's, or how God has authorized government, I want you to ask if government is effective in doing the thing that I'm saying. What you'll find is that where government steps outside of its God-given boundaries, we have disasters. What we get is a mess, which is why we're where we are now. It's because we have permitted and encouraged government to go beyond its God-given authority. So let's go back to it. Government should fight and defeat invading armies. I think definitely yes, this qualifies as punishing the evildoer. What about number 2? Government should capture and punish criminals. Yes, definitely. This is what government is supposed to do. Number 3, government should act as policemen of the world. Okay, this one is questionable. For example, many years ago when the genocide was taking place in Rwanda, should the United States have intervened to stop that massacre of other people? I can see a case either way. The question is, does the government of the United States have the authority to punish the evildoer in another nation? I would love to see theologians hash that one around. I got to say, I'm not sure, so I'm going to leave a question mark there. Number 4, preemptively invade other nations. That is, attack before they attack us, whether or not they've given any indication of their intentions. I think we have to say no here, because punishing the evildoer means that you actually done evil. I think number 4 would also mean that we don't park our troops all over the world in anticipation of some attack that may or may not come, but which is really just feeding the military-industrial complex. Number 5, government should provide Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, health care subsidies, and other welfare benefits. No. Nowhere is that part of its biblical role. Number 6, set minimum wages. Absolutely not. There is no economic role for the government except to punish people who practice theft. Number 7, fund public education. I know you're going to hate me for this, but no. Deuteronomy chapter 6 says that education is the responsibility of parents, not the government, not tax money paying for education. It's not the way it's supposed to work. Now, does that mean that parents have to educate their kids personally? No, but it means that they make the decision, they bear the burden of the responsibility, not government. Number 8, build and regulate highways and post offices. Nope, that's not in there. Not one of the 2 roles. Number 9, provide student grants and loans for higher education. Nope. By the way, this is the reason it's outrageously expensive to go to college. It's because of government funding, and all the colleges are lining up at the public trough. Number 10, establish and regulate a monetary system. Absolutely not. The Federal Reserve is the cause of an ever-increasing inflation rate. Federal Reserve, by the way, is what regulates our money supply. And these boom-bust cycles that we keep going through, it's because the government is controlling and inflating the money supply. So, most of what I have on the list and most of what our government is doing today is not biblical. It's government functioning outside of its authority, and that is where we're seeing the mess that we're in. So here's all you need to ask. Whenever government wants to expand its power, or anytime it wants to expand its power or its finances or its offices, ask, is this punishing the evildoer, or is this praising those who do good? That's all government is authorized to do. Think about it this way. God has given government the power of the sword. What can you do with the sword? Well, you can either kill or coerce. So here's another filter. Whenever somebody like Bernie Sanders says, elect me president and I'll give you a free college education, add the words, at the point of a gun. Ultimately, that's what will happen if you don't go along with the government program and pay for it through your taxes. They will fine you or jail you or even kill you if you resist. When you hear Donald Trump say, elect me and I'll fix the economy, add the words, at the point of a gun. If it doesn't sound right, if it doesn't feel right, when you add the words, at the point of a gun, then government shouldn't do it.